This is one of the best pieces of advice I can give you, do what I did in the end. And if you see yourself in this, be careful. My name is Ethan. Hit that subscribe button, and let the story begin. That night at the bar. Yeah, that was one of those moments. It kicked off like any other Friday night. Just me, Jenna, and a handful of our closest friends, laughing over drinks, soaking up the buzz of the city around us. The place was packed. Dim lights, the air thick with the smell of whiskey and the low rumble of chatter, broken now and then by someone's loud, drunken laugh. It should have been a good night. One of those carefree, memory-making kind of nights. But instead, it turned into the one that flipped everything upside down. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. Jenna had been acting different for a while, short-tempered, distant, like everything I did just rubbed her the wrong way. At first, I figured it was just life piling on her. Stress from work, maybe some family stuff. I figured she'd come around, just needed space, but over time, the change wasn't so subtle. She stopped laughing at the things I said. Stopped reaching for my hand when we were out in public. Started calling me out in front of people, like she wanted to make sure everyone saw me as the fool. And that night, she didn't even bother hiding it. I had just finished telling this harmless little story, something dumb about getting lost on a road trip, and the whole table cracked up. Everyone but Jenna. She sat there, arms folded, eyes rolling like she couldn't believe she was stuck there with me. Then, under her breath but loud enough for everyone to hear, she muttered, "You're quite the numbskull, to be honest." The laughter died instantly. I could feel every eye at that table swing toward me, like a wave of judgment crashing all at once. The tension hit me in the gut. And the worst part? She wasn't even drunk. This wasn't some slurry, out-of-line accident. This was intentional. Meant to land. And it landed hard. I froze. I didn't have a comeback, didn't even know how to react. I just sat there, ears burning, while silence settled over the group like fog. And then, like she suddenly realized she might have gone too far, she reached for my arm, her voice softening. "Calm down," she said. "I love you, okay?" Like that was supposed to make it all disappear. Like those 3 words could magically wipe away the slap in the face she'd just delivered in front of everyone. But I couldn't brush it off, not this time. Because in that moment, it finally hit me, Jenna didn't respect me. Maybe she never had. I stayed quiet. Not sure why, exactly. Maybe I was still trying to process it. Maybe I was just too embarrassed to start a scene. But one thing was obvious, everyone at that table noticed. The whole vibe shifted. The night was shot. Even my friends, who normally stayed out of relationship stuff, looked uncomfortable. Tyler, especially, he gave me a look from across the table. The kind of look that said, "Seriously? You're just gonna let that slide?" I didn't say a word. I just sat there, nursing my drink while Jenna carried on like nothing had happened. She laughed at other people's stories, scrolled through her phone, leaned in close to one of our mutual guy friends and whispered something in his ear that made him chuckle, and that was it for me. I pushed my chair back, the legs screeching against the floor, and stood up. "I'm heading out." Jenna looked up, confused. "What?" "Wait, what?" I forced a smile. The kind you wear when you're trying not to lose it. Because apparently, I'm just a numbskull, right? Her face changed instantly. I saw that flash of regret in her eyes, but not the kind that comes from realizing you hurt someone you care about. No, this was different. She regretted that I was finally standing up for myself. "Babe, I didn't mean it like that," she said, reaching for my hand. "Come on, don't be dramatic." I pulled my arm away. "No," I said flatly. "You meant exactly what you said." And with that, I turned around and walked out, leaving her sitting there without another word. When I got home, I just lay there on the bed, staring up at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship in my head. And suddenly, it all came into focus. The way she used to make little digs at me in front of people. The way she never made me feel like an equal, more like a sidekick, or worse, a prop. How had I missed it? Or maybe I didn't. Maybe I just didn't want to see it. But now it was crystal clear, Jenna didn't value me. She never really had, and I wasn't gonna be that guy, the guy who sticks around, letting himself get stepped on. Who spends years with someone who barely sees him, let alone respects him. Not anymore. I ended up sitting on the couch, just staring at my phone, that whole scene at the bar still pressing heavy on my chest. The embarrassment, the betrayal, it all felt like too much. But what stung the most wasn't even the insult. It was the fact that she didn't even recognize how wrong it was. She thought she could just throw out a quick, "Calm down, I love you," and everything would go back to normal. Like I was that predictable. Like I'd just take it. I wasn't even mad anymore. Just drained. And I needed to talk to someone who'd really listen. So I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I called my mom. The phone rang twice before she answered. "Ethan," she said, surprised. "It's late, sweetheart. Everything okay?" I let out a slow breath, rubbing my face. "I don't know, Mom," I said, honest. There was a pause. And then, in that quiet, knowing way only mothers seem to have, she just said, "Talk to me." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "It's Jenna," I admitted. Another pause. But not a shocked one. More like, she saw this coming. "What happened?" she asked, gently. So I told her. Everything. The way Jenna had been lately. The little things that chipped away at me. The way she made me feel small and unimportant in front of people who mattered to me. The way she treated me like I didn't count. By the time I finished, Mom didn't say anything at first. The silence stretched. "Mom?" I asked, softly. She let out a sigh. "Ethan," she said, carefully. "I have to ask you something. Has she always treated you like this?" my mom asked. I frowned, instinctively shaking my head. "No," I said without even thinking. But as the word left my mouth, a tiny voice in the back of my mind started to question it. Hadn't there always been little digs? Offhand comments. Small moments that chipped away at me. Things I brushed off at the time, told myself they didn't matter. But now, looking back with clearer eyes, I wasn't so sure anymore. "I just keep thinking," I muttered, rubbing my temples. "About everything I did for her. Everything I gave up." Mom stayed quiet, letting me get it out. "I was there for her when she had nothing," I said, and there was bitterness in my voice I couldn't hide, even if I wanted to. But it was the truth. When Jenna and I got together, she was barely staying afloat. No job, no savings, bills piling up. And me? I stepped in. I covered her rent for months. Bought her groceries when her fridge was empty. Gave her money when her car broke down, money I knew damn well I'd never see again. But I never made her feel bad about it. Never threw it in her face. Not once. Because I loved her. Because I thought we were in it together. But now she had her own thing going. A good job. Her own income. Her independence. And suddenly, I was just some joke to her. Quite the numbskull. "Mom. I regret it," I admitted, my voice tight. "Regret what?" she asked gently. "All of it," I said. "Everything I gave. Everything I sacrificed." The words tasted sour as they left my mouth, and it felt foreign, because helping someone had never been something I regretted before. But with Jenna, she made me feel like an idiot for ever believing she valued what I did for her. "I never should have given her that much," I muttered. Mom let out a quiet sigh. "Ethan, listen to me," she said, her voice soft but serious. "There's nothing wrong with loving someone. There's nothing wrong with helping them when they're down. The problem comes when you give everything to someone who gives you nothing in return." I clenched my jaw. "She used me, didn't she?" There was a pause. Then, in a quiet, honest voice, she said, "Yes." And even though I'd known it deep down, hearing someone else say it, it hit like a brick to the chest. "You know what hurts the most?" I asked, shaking my head slowly. "What, sweetheart?" I stared down at the floor, trying to find the words. "I never thought she'd do this to me," I said finally. Of all people. I never expected this from her. That was the real pain. Not the money. Not the effort. Not even the way she humiliated me in front of my friends. It was the betrayal. I had believed, really believed, that Jenna was in my corner. That no matter what, we were a team. But now I realized I had been in this alone for a long time. "Ethan," my mom said, her voice firmer now, "a woman who loves you doesn't cut you down in front of others. She doesn't make you feel small. And she sure as hell doesn't make you regret being good to her." I shut my eyes, letting her words sink in. "You deserve better," she whispered. "You always have." And in that moment, for the first time, I actually believed it. Later that night, when I walked back into the apartment, Jenna was exactly where I expected, curled up on the couch in her usual spot, scrolling through her phone like nothing happened. Like she hadn't just disrespected me in front of everyone. Like she hadn't laughed with my friends while tearing me down in front of them and me. I'd reached my limit. I didn't tiptoe and like everything was fine. This time, I came in with intention. My steps were firm. My energy was different. I wasn't that same guy from a few hours ago. She looked up, eyebrows pulling together when she noticed the way I was staring at her. What? She asked, all casual, shifting slightly. I didn't answer right away. I was thinking, measuring my words. Because this wasn't going to be another throwaway argument. This was it. We need to talk, I said, my voice flat. She sighed, rolled her eyes, and locked her phone, tossing it onto the table. What now, Ethan? She mumbled. I clenched my fists, already feeling my patience wearing thin. Don't do that, I snapped. She blinked, caught off guard by my tone. Do what? Act like I'm being dramatic. Like what happened at the bar wasn't a big deal. She let out another long, annoyed sigh. Jesus, Ethan, are you seriously still upset about that? I laughed, but there wasn't a trace of humor in it. Are you kidding me right now? I said, shaking my head. You called me a numbskull in front of our friends. You embarrassed me. And when you saw I was hurt, your big fix was, calm down, I love you, like that was supposed to make it all better. She crossed her arms, leaning back with an irritated look on her face. It was a joke, she said. You're the one blowing it out of proportion. A joke. I repeated, stunned. That's what you're going with. I stared at her, watching her closely, hoping, just maybe, I'd see something on her face. Some sign that she felt bad. That she understood. But there was nothing. No guilt. No shame. Just indifference, and that's when it hit me. She really didn't respect me. Not even a little. Let me ask you something, I said, stepping closer. She raised an eyebrow. What? Would you ever say that to me if it were just the two of us? She scoffed. Ethan, don't start, answer the question. She paused. Just for a second. But that was enough. You wouldn't, I said, my voice low. You wouldn't say that to me in private. You wouldn't look me in the eye and call me that if we were alone. You only said it because people were around. Because you thought it'd get a laugh. Because it made you look clever. Because it made you feel in control. Her mouth opened slightly, like she wanted to deny it, but nothing came out. She knew I was right. That's not true, she said finally, her tone defensive. I was drunk, Ethan. I wasn't thinking. I narrowed my eyes. You weren't drunk, I said coldly. You weren't slurring your words. You weren't stumbling around. You were fully in control, and you knew exactly what you were doing. And even if you were drunk, that still wouldn't excuse what you said, I told her. She opened her mouth again, probably ready to throw out another excuse, but then stopped. That hesitation. That was all I needed to see. She was losing control of the conversation, and she knew it. Let's stop pretending, I said, letting out a slow breath. Let's just be real for a second. What do you mean? She muttered, trying to play dumb. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I asked the question that had been living rent-free in the back of my mind for weeks. Do you even love me, Jenna? She froze. Her lips parted like she wanted to answer, but nothing came out. And that pause. That silence. That said everything. She stammered, answer me, I pushed. Right now. Do you actually love me? Or am I just convenient to have around? Her jaw tensed. Of course I love you, she snapped. Why the hell would you even ask me that? Because you don't act like it, I shot back, my voice ice cold. She let out the sharp breath and shook her head like I was being ridiculous. Ethan, you're always so sensitive. And there it was. The truth, plain as day. This wasn't about one fight. It wasn't about the bar. It wasn't even about that one insult. This was about how she saw me, like I was weak. Like I was beneath her. Like I was someone she could constantly step on, and I'd just keep taking it. Before I could even digest that realization, she kept going. I don't get why you're acting like such a victim, she said, arms crossed. You knew what you were getting into when we got together. I'm not some soft little girlfriend who worships the ground you walk on. If you can't handle that, then maybe. She stopped herself mid-sentence, but I didn't need her to finish. I already knew what she was about to say. Maybe I should leave. Maybe you're not man enough. Maybe I never needed you to begin with, and suddenly, I felt nothing. No anger. No desperation to make her understand. Just a quiet kind of clarity. I stood up a little straighter and took a deep breath. Okay, I said. She furrowed her brows. Okay. You don't respect me, I said simply. And honestly, I don't think you ever have. She scoffed. Oh my God. You're being ridiculous. No, I said, cutting her off. What's ridiculous is how long I let this go on. You don't value me. You don't appreciate a damn thing I've done. And I'm done pretending that's okay. I deserve better than this. She actually laughed. Like, out loud. You're breaking up with me, over a joke, she said, smirking like I was the one being irrational. I looked at her one last time. Really looked? No, I said calmly. I'm breaking up with you because I finally see you for who you really are. And then I walked out of the room, and out of her life, for good. Leaving Jenna that night should have felt like a clean break. Like finally cutting off the weight of a toxic relationship that had been dragging me down for far too long. But the truth. Something didn't sit right. There was this uneasy feeling in my gut I just couldn't shake. No matter how many times I told myself I was done, it lingered because something didn't add up. Her behavior. The way she suddenly didn't care. The way she barely reacted when I walked out. It was like she'd been waiting for it. Like she wanted me to be the one to end things, and that's when it hit me. What if I wasn't the only one? At first, I chalked it up to paranoia. Just my mind scrambling for a reason, a way to make sense of everything. But the more I sat with it, the less crazy it sounded. Why had she stopped touching me? Why did she always seem so distant? Why was she constantly glued to her phone, smiling at messages that definitely weren't from me? I didn't want her back. I didn't want to fix anything. I just needed the truth, because if I was going to walk away, I wanted to do it with both eyes open. So, I started digging. Jenna was smart, I'll give her that. She kept her socials clean. No shady posts, no flirty captions. Nothing obvious. But that didn't mean she was careful all the time. I started combing through old photos and comments. That's when a name started showing up again and again. Logan. A guy I didn't recognize. He'd liked a bunch of her photos. Left little comments, innocent on the surface. But something felt off. So I checked his page. And what I found made my stomach twist. Logan wasn't as careful as Jenna. The guy posted everything. Buried in his profile, tucked between random beach pics and gym selfies, was a photo from 2 months ago. A bar. Late night drinks, and there, in the background, Jenna. Sitting next to him. Leaning in a little too close. Drink in hand. Smiling. The caption. Late night drinks with the best company. And my heart just dropped, because 2 months ago was exactly when Jenna started pulling away. When she stopped being affectionate. When she stopped seeing me, and suddenly it wasn't a theory anymore. It wasn't paranoia. It was proof. I needed more. Not because I was trying to catch her, I just wanted to know. I needed closure. Answers. She'd forgotten her phone was still linked to our shared cloud. Everything she deleted. Still backed up, and when I checked, I found them. Dozens of messages. Supposedly deleted. But not gone, and what I read made my blood run cold. Logan, last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again, babe. Jenna, same. But we have to be careful. He's been getting suspicious. Logan, you should just end it. You don't need him. Jenna, I know. But I need to do it at the right time. The right time. That's what she'd been waiting for. She wasn't with me because she loved me. She was with me because it was easier than leaving. Until she found the right moment to walk away. Meanwhile, she was letting me pay for things. Letting me believe we still had something worth fighting for. Letting me play the fool in that moment at the bar. Calling me quite the numbskull in front of everyone. That wasn't a slip-up. That was how she really felt. That was the truth breaking through. She'd already checked out. She just hadn't told me yet. I sat there gripping my phone like I might crush it in my hand. My heart pounding. My mind racing. Every memory we shared, Every moment I'd poured into us, it all played back in my head like a cruel joke. Every moment I'd stood by her, backed her up, believed in her, it suddenly felt worthless. Like I'd wasted years of my life on a woman who never respected me. A woman who'd been sneaking around behind my back while I was out here defending her, trusting her, thinking we were some kind of team. I felt sick that I ever loved her. Sick that I ever trusted her. Sick that I couldn't see it for what it was, and then, that sickness turned into something else, pure, white-hot rage, because Jenna didn't just cheat. She used me. Took what she needed, took what I gave, my time, my money, my trust, and then threw me away like none of it ever mattered. But she was about to find out what it felt like to lose everything. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't even going to ask her why, because I already knew. She had shown me who she was, clear as day. Now it was my turn. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and sent her a message. Simple. Direct, come home. We need to talk, she texted back almost instantly. Now, yeah. Now, then I leaned back on the couch and waited. Calm. Focused. Because when she walked through that front door, she'd have no idea what was coming. But I was going to make damn sure she never forgot it. The living room was dim, just the glow of my phone screen lighting up my face as I scrolled through every piece of proof. Every message. Every lie. Every stolen moment she spent with Logan while I sat at home, thinking we still had something real, and I wasn't just mad anymore. I was laser-focused, because Jenna really thought she'd gotten away with it. That she could lie, cheat, and walk away with her perfect little reputation untouched. That she could use me until she was ready to upgrade. But now I was going to make sure the truth hit her like a freight train. I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to tear down the little fantasy world she'd built. The one where she played the role of strong, loyal, independent woman who climbed her way to success all on her own. The truth. I was the one who helped her build everything. When we first met, she was broke. No real job, no money, barely staying afloat. And me? I stepped in. Paid for her car repairs when she was stranded. Covered half her rent when she couldn't make ends meet. Even gave her money for some half-baked business idea she never followed through with, but that was over. I logged into our shared bank account, the one we used to split bills, and I drained every cent I'd put into it. Transferred it all into my personal account. Then I called the bank and had her name removed entirely. She wouldn't notice right away. But come morning, when she tried to fill up that gas tank or buy her overpriced coffee, she'd figure it out, and that was just the start. Jenna had fooled a lot of people. Her friends, her co-workers, even her family. She made them think she was self-made. Independent. A woman who got where she was on her own. That was a lie. She climbed because I was the one holding the ladder steady. And now I was pulling it out from under her. First stop. Her parents thought they'd always liked me. Always treated me with kindness and respect. They believed I was good for her. So I sent her mom the screenshots. The ones where Jenna admitted to cheating. The ones where she called me weak. The ones where she planned to leave me once the timing was right. Her mom replied in minutes, "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I can't believe she did this." Now she knew who her daughter really was, and Jenna. She was about to lose the only people who ever stood by her. But I wasn't finished, because Jenna hadn't just betrayed me, she humiliated me. In front of my own friends. Made me look like a fool. So I made sure they all saw the truth too. I sent them everything. Every message. Every screenshot. Every piece of evidence. Then I waited. It didn't take long. Tyler, holy man. She's disgusting. We had no idea. You deserve way better. Another friend, we're done with her. Don't worry. We got your back. One by one, I watched as her social life crumbled. The same people she'd tried to impress, the ones she'd used to make me look small. They were turning their backs on her. When she found out, she'd be alone. No safety net. But I still had one more move to make. The one that would really break her. Logan. He hadn't just been some faceless stranger. He knew about me. Knew Jenna was in a relationship and didn't care. Slept with her anyway. So I dug into him, too. Didn't take long to find out he had a girlfriend. A long-term one, actually. And by the looks of it, she had no clue what he was up to. So I found her Instagram, and I sent her everything. Every message. Every dirty little secret he and Jenna thought they'd buried. An hour later, she responded, "Thank you for telling me. He's dead to me," and just like that, Logan's perfect world came crashing down too. His girlfriend, gone. His reputation, shattered, and when Jenna tried to crawl back to him, she'd find him just as wrecked as she was. The next morning, I was in the kitchen, making coffee like it was any other day, when I heard it, a scream from the bedroom. Sharp, panicked. Then stomping footsteps. She came bursting into the kitchen, face flushed, eyes wide with rage. "Ethan, what the fuck did you do?" she shouted. I sipped my coffee, cool as ice. "No idea what you're talking about," I said, leaning against the counter. Her hands were trembling. "My bank account's empty. My parents aren't speaking to me. Everyone is turning on me." She took a step closer, her voice cracking. "Did you show them something?" I smiled, just a little, and set my mug down. "No, Jenna," I said, steady. "You did that. All by yourself." Her lips trembled. Her whole body shook. "You ruined my life," she cried out. I smirked. "A real one this time." "No, sweetheart," I said calmly. "You ruined mine first. I just made sure you finally felt it." She stood there, shaking, silent for once. And in that moment, I think it finally hit her. That she'd truly lost. Not just me. But everything. No money. No family. No friends left to lean on. And when she went running to Logan for comfort, thinking he'd be her soft place to land, she'd find him just as wrecked and hollowed out as she was, and me, I was finally free. I grabbed my keys, took one last look at the woman who had betrayed me in every way possible, and turned toward the door. "Where are you going?" she demanded, voice rising with desperation. I glanced back over my shoulder, gave her a cold, quiet smile. "Anywhere that isn't with you." Then I walked out. And I never looked back. Months passed after that night. The night I watched Jenna's world crumble, one piece at a time. The night I walked away without a single ounce of regret. And you know what, I thought maybe, after a while, I'd feel something. Maybe guilt would creep in. Maybe I'd question how far I went to dismantle her life. But sitting there in my new apartment, coffee in hand, early morning light spilling across the floor as the city stretched awake outside my window, I didn't feel guilt. I felt peace, because she got exactly what she earned. Word about Jenna's downfall started reaching me not long after. At first, through mutual friends. Then, whispers online. Rumors passed along through people who used to be in both our circles, and eventually. She reached out herself, but I never answered. The woman who threw away a good man for absolutely nothing, and she paid for it. She had thought Logan would be there when the dust settled. Thought she could run to him, curl up in his arms, and start over. But Logan. He got wrecked too. His girlfriend dumped him the moment I showed her the receipts. And she didn't just leave, she cleaned him out. Took the apartment, the savings, everything. And Logan. He was never really in it for Jenna. She was just another notch. A fling. Something fun on the side. When she showed up at his door, desperate and broken, clinging to him like he was the last raft in a sinking sea, he laughed. "I never promised you anything, babe," he told her. "Not my fault you lost your safety net." And just like that, he cut her loose. She was alone. Truly, completely alone. And then one day, the inevitable happened. I got a message from her, just 5 words, "Can we please talk?" I stared at the screen for a while. Not angry. Not emotional. Just thoughtful. Then I typed out 2 words. No, Jenna, and I blocked her. No second chances. No explanations. No long, messy conversation. She didn't deserve my time. She didn't deserve closure. She sure as hell didn't deserve forgiveness. She lost me. For good. And that was the most powerful revenge I could have ever given her. I used to think it'd take me years to get over what she did. That the damage ran too deep. That I'd be carrying this pain with me forever. But I was wrong, because the moment I cut her loose, the moment I truly understood that she was never worth what I gave her, I became free. I started pouring into myself. My work. My goals. My peace. And Jenna. She's nothing, and me. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be.